So then that we come on to the fifth one, which is this risk and uncertainty. So the challenge here is really about communicating things versus how people make decisions. So as we learned from the stakeholder engagement, there's an increasing need to make strategic choices and policy level decisions within national highways. Quite often, sometimes around RIS3, but not entirely. And the need to balance multiple complex priorities for those decision makers with clarity is balancing being able to see what you need versus the level of detail that could overwhelm that audience. And that decision making at a policy level is something that is being explored through the work of David Schwiegerholter and others. So taking the experience they've had from a health perspective, medical perspective, which is about an individual taking a decision, and seeing how they can bring their research to a policy area. And that's very much work in progress. So it's going to be a really interesting workshop, I think, on this, which Richard Sweet is kind of a key point of contact on for that, to explore this in much more detail. So what we're looking at here is understanding why a careful consideration of risk and uncertainty is necessary. Recognizing that it's this collective decision making that's the challenge, and drawing on some of the latest research and findings around that, and then taking tangible things from that research and thinking, okay, what can we actually use? What can we apply in real life? So in some ways, this is the more nascent of the 5 areas, because it's kind of being developed in research terms at the same time, in terms of practical tools that you can use. So this is going to be more kind of on the edge in terms of actually taking that and working with it in real life. But this kind of connects you back again. So we mentioned this inference, this kind of initial response to the key intelligence question in 1. It leads that bluff, and it answers the key intelligence question using a series of assumptions. So the inference is the conclusions drawn from what we believe to be known facts, and the assumptions that conditions that must exist for an assessment to remain valid, caveated with appropriate words. Now, this is quite high level, but it gives you a sense of how it connects to the other sections. So the one of the challenges in here is that we don't make decisions in a rational, logical way. These 4 bullets are from a great book called Decisive: How to Make Better Decisions from Chip and Dan Heath. There's a lot of work on this area. It just happened to be something that seemed to resonate with the kind of responses that we got back through the stakeholder engagement. And this affects all of us. It affects us as analysts, it affects the audience as well. And our job is, through the processes that we go through from an analytical side, is to reduce the impact of these. But then from a communication side, it's how can we be aware that these are going to happen, and what tools do we have to help manage the way that whatever we convey doesn't fall into these villainous traps. And I don't know if anyone's seen it. This struck out at me watching something called Unnatural Selection on Netflix not so long ago. Great quote, not directly relevant to what we're doing, but I think the essence is definitely there. The challenge is explaining that how things are to people according to science has no effect on their actual opinions, because their opinions about the world are not shaped by their grasp of facts, they're shaped by their values. And I think that's kind of getting right to the essence of some of this, and thinking it's understanding enough of that to know why it's a problem, and then it's about the tools that we have at hand. These are just 2. There's a bit more in the guide at the moment, but as I said, that workshop with Richard, which I think is kind of mid-May sometime, will really help us collectively, and we'd really value your inputs and views on this as well, so that we can actually build up that material.